We're coming back for another Bible reading. Today we're going to be in the book of Mark. And if you're following along, I'm on page 957 in the scriptures. So as usual, Shalom Palmetto Paratrooper. Palmetto Paratrooper, sorry. You guys can't see that. Where is it? Oh, there it is. The scriptures. Okay. Just wait a minute and let some people jump in here. How you guys doing? Moose, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? All right. Thanks for joining, you guys. Isaiah, yep, TS 2009. That's right. The scriptures, page 957, starting the book of Mark. And today we'll hit chapters 1 through chapter 9, and then tomorrow we'll finish it out 10 through 16. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. First sound check, is the audio coming in clear? Thumbs up, 5x5, let me know. Awesome, good to go. All right. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The book of Mark, chapter 1. The beginning of the good news of Yeshua Messiah, the Son of Elohim. As it has been written in the prophets, see, I send my messenger before your face, who shall prepare your way before you. A voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahweh, make his paths straight. Yohanan came immersing in the wilderness and proclaiming an immersion of repentance for the forgiveness of sins. And all the country of Yehuda and those of Jerusalem went out to him and were all immersed by him in the Jordan River, in the Yarden, confessing their sins. And Yohanan was clothed with camel's hair and a leather girdle around his waist, and eating locusts and wild honey. And he proclaimed, saying, after me comes one who is mightier than I, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to stoop down and loosen. I indeed did immerse you in water, but he shall immerse you in the set-apart Spirit. And it came to be in those days that Yeshua came from Nazareth to Galilee, and that's Galilee, and was immersed by Yohanan in the Jordan. And immediately coming up from the water, he saw the heavens being torn open, and the Spirit coming down on him like a dove. And a voice came out of the heavens, you are my Son, the beloved, in whom I did delight. And immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness. And he was there in the wilderness 40 days, tried by Satan, and was with the wild beasts, and the messengers attended him. And after Yohanan was delivered up, Yeshua came to Galilee, proclaiming the good news of the reign of Elohim, and saying, the time has been filled, and the reign of Elohim has come near. Repent and believe in the good news. And walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And Yeshua said to them, come, follow me, and I shall make you become fishers of men. I shall wear my fisher's men hat. And immediately they left their nets and followed him. And having gone on a little from there, he saw Jacob, the son of Zabdi, that's James, Jacob, and Yohanan his brother, and they were in the boat mending their nets. And immediately he called them, and leaving their nets, Zabdi in the boat with the hired servants, they went after him. And they went into Capernaum, And immediately on the Sabbath he went into the congregation and taught. And they were astonished at the teaching, for he was teaching them as possessing authority, and not as scribes. And there was a man in the congregation with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, saying, Ha! What have we to do with you, Yeshua of Nazareth? Did you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the set-apart one of Elohim. And Yeshua rebuked him, saying, Be silenced, and come out of him. And throwing him into convulsions, the unclean spirit called out with a loud voice, and came out of him. And they were all so amazed as to reason among themselves, saying, What is this, a fresh teaching? With authority he commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. And news about him immediately spread into all the country of around Galilee, and coming out of the congregation, they went straight to the house of Simon and Andrew, with Jacob and Johanan. And the mother-in-law of Simon lay sick with inflammation, and immediately they spoke to him about her. And having come, they took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the inflammation left her, and she served them. And when evening came, when the sun had set, they brought to him all who were sick and those who were demon-possessed. And the entire city was gathered at the door. And he healed many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons, and was not allowing the demons to speak, because they knew him. And having risen very early in the morning, while still dark, he went out and went away to a lonely place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him searched for him. And when they found him, they said to him, All are seeking you. And he said to them, Let us go into the neighboring towns, so that I proclaim there also. Because of this I have come forth. Because for this I have come forth. And he was proclaiming in the congregation and in all Galilee, and casting out demons. And a leper came to him, calling upon him, kneeling down to him, and saying to him, If you desire, you are able to make me clean. And Yeshua, moved with compassion, stretched out his hand and touched him, and said to him, I desire it, be cleansed. And immediately the leprosy left him, and he was cleansed. And having strictly warned him, he immediately sent him away, and said to him, See, say none at all to anyone, but go show yourself to the priests, and offer for your cleansing what Moshe ordered, as a witness to them. But he went out and began to publish it so much, and to spread the word, that Yeshua was no longer able to openly enter that city, but was outside in lonely places. Yet they came to him from all directions. Chapter 2. And some days later he again entered into Capernaum, and it was heard that he was in the house. And so many gathered together that there was no more room, not even at the door. And he spoke the word to them. And they came to him, bringing a paralytic carried by 4. And not being able to carry near him because of the crowd, they uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken through, they let down the bed on which the paralytic was lying. And when Yeshua saw their belief, he said to the paralytic, Son, your sins are forgiven you. Now some of the scribes were sitting there and reasoning in their hearts, Why does this one talk like this? And he is blaspheming. Who is able to forgive sins but Elohim alone? And immediately Yeshua, knowing in his spirit what they were reasoning that they were reasoning that way within themselves, said to them, Why do you reason about all this in your hearts? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, Your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise, take up your bed, and walk. But in order that you know that the Son of Adam possesses authority on earth to forgive sins, he said to the paralytic, I say to you, rise, take up your bed, and go to your house. And he rose straightway and took up his bed and went out before all, so that all were amazed and praised Elohim, saying, we have never seen the like of it. And he went out again by the sea, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he taught them. And passing by, he saw Levi the son of Alphaeus sitting at the tax office, and said to him, follow me. And having risen, he followed him. And it came to be, as he sat at the table at his house, that many tax collectors and sinners also sat with Yeshua and his taught ones, for there were many, and they followed him. And when the scribes and Pharisees saw him eating with the tax collectors and sinners, they said to his taught ones, why does he eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners? And hearing this, Yeshua said to them, those who are strong have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous to repentance, but sinners. And the taught ones of Yohanan and of the Pharisees were fasting. And they came and said to him, why do the taught ones of Yohanan and the Pharisees fast, but your taught ones do not fast? And Yeshua said to them, are the friends of the bridegroom able to fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they are not able to fast. But the days shall come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then they shall fast in those days. And no one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. Otherwise, the renewed piece pulls away from the old, and the tear is made worse. And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the new wine bursts, and bursts the wineskins, and the wine runs out, and the wineskins are ruined. But new wine is to be put into fresh wineskins. And it came to be that he went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and as they went, his taught ones began to pluck heads of grain. And the Pharisees said to him, look, why do they do what is not right on the Sabbath? And he said to them, have you never read what David did when he had need and was hungry, he and those with him? How he went into the house of Elohim with Abiathar, while Abiathar was high priest, and ate the showbread, which is not right to eat except for the priests, and he gave it also to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Adam is also master of the Sabbath. Chapter 3. And he went into the congregation again, and a man who had a withered hand was there. And they were watching him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so as to accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, get up to the middle. And he said to them, is it right to do good on the Sabbath, or to do evil, to save a life, or to kill? But they remained silent, and having looked around on them with displeasure, being grieved at the hardness of their hearts, he said to the man, stretch out your hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored as healthy as the other. And the Pharisees went out and immediately plotted with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. But Yeshua withdrew with his taught ones to the sea. And a great crowd from Galilee followed him, and from Yehuda, even from Jerusalem, and from Edom, and beyond the Jordan. And those around Sor and Sidon, a large crowd came to him when they heard how much he was doing. And he spoke to his taught ones that a small boat should be kept ready for him because of the crowd, lest they should press upon him. For he healed many, so that so that as many as had afflictions fell upon him to touch him. And the unclean spirits, whenever they saw him, fell down before him and cried out, saying, You are the Son of Elohim. And he warned them many times that they should not make him known. And he went up on the mountain and called to him whom he wished, and they came to him. And he appointed 12 to be with him, and to be sent out to proclaim, and to possess authority to heal sicknesses and to cast out demons. And he appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he added the name Kepha, and Jacob, the son of Zabdi, and Johanan, the brother of Jacob, to whom he added the name Beni Regis, that is, sons of thunder, and Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew and Thomas and James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus and Simon the Canaanite, and Yehuda from Kerioth, who did all, that's Judas Iscariot, Yehuda from Kerioth, who did also deliver him up. And they went into a house, and again the crowd came together, so that they were unable to even eat bread. And when his relatives heard about this, they went out to seize him, for they said, He is out of his mind. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, He is of Beelzebub, and he casts out demons by the ruler of the demons. And calling them near, he said to them in parables, How is Satan able to cast out Satan? And if a reign is divided against itself, that reign is unable to stand. If a house is divided against itself, then that house is unable to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he is unable to stand, but has an end. No one is able to enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man, and then he shall plunder his house. Truly I say to you, all the sins shall be forgiven the sons of men, and whatever blasphemies they speak. But he who blasphemes against the set-apart Spirit has no forgiveness forever, but is subject to everlasting judgment, because they say he has an unclean spirit. And his brothers and his mother came, and standing outside they sent to him, calling him. And the crowd was sitting around him. And they said to him, See, your mother and your brothers are outside seeking you. But he answered them, saying, Who is my mother and my brothers? And looking about on those sitting around him, he said, See my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the desire of Elohim is my brother and my sister and mother. Chapter 4. And he began to teach again by the sea, and a large crowd was gathered to him, so that he entered into the boat to sit in the sea. And all the crowd was on the land facing the sea. And he taught them much in parables, and said to them in his teaching, Listen, see, a sower went out to sow. And it came to be, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the birds of the heaven came and devoured it. And other fell on rocky places, where it had not much soil, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of soil. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away. And other fell on thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no crop. And other fell on good soil, and yielded a crop, and came up, grew, and yielded a crop, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. And he said to them, He who has ears to hear, let him hear. It must have been corn that sprouted up, because he said, He who has an ear to hear, let him hear. Sorry. Verse 10. And when he was alone, those about him with the 12 asked him about the parable. And he said to them, To you it has been given to know the secret of the reign of Elohim, but to those who are outside, all are done in parables, so that seeing they see, but do not perceive, and hearing they hear, but do not understand, lest they should turn from their sins and be forgiven. Thanks, Moose. And he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How then shall you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word. These men are the ones by the wayside, where the word is sown. And when they hear, Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their heart. And likewise, these are the ones sown on rocky places, who, when they hear the word, immediately receive it with joy, and they have no root and they have no root in themselves, but are short-lived. Then the pressure or persecution arises because of the word. Immediately they stumble. And others are those sown among the thorns. These are they who hear the word, and the worries of this age, and the deceit of riches, and the desires of their matters enter in, choke the word, and it becomes fruitless. And those sown on good soil are those who hear the word and accept it, and bear fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. And he said to them, would a lamp be brought and put under a basket, or under a bed? Is it not to be put on a lampstand? For whatever is hidden shall be revealed, and whatever has been kept secret shall come to light. For if anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. And he said to them, take heed what you hear. With the same measure you use, it shall be measured to you, and more shall be added to you who hear. For whoever possesses, to him more shall be given, but whoever does not possess, even what he possesses shall be taken away from him. And he said, the rain of Elohim is as when a man scatters seed on the ground, then sleeps by night and rises by day, while the seed sprout and grows, he himself does not know how. For the soil yields crops by itself, first the blade, then the head, after that the complete grain in the head. Excuse me. Verse 29. And when the crop is ready, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come. We just heard about the harvest and the sickle yesterday in Revelation, didn't we? And he said, to what shall we compare the reign of Elohim? Or with what parable shall we present it? Like a mustard seed, which, when it is sown on the ground, is smaller than all the seeds on earth. And when it is sown, it grows up and becomes greater than all plants, and forms large branches, so that the birds of the heaven are able to nest under its shade. And with many such parables he was speaking to them the word as they were able to hear. And he was not speaking to them without parables. And when they were alone, he explained all to his taught ones. And on the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, let us pass over to the other side. And having left the crowd, they took him along with the boat, as he was, and other little boats were also with him. And there came a great windstorm, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already being filled. And he was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, Teacher, is it no certain to you that we perish? No concern to you that we perish. And having been awakened, he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, Why are you so afraid? Have you not yet belief? And they feared exceedingly and asked each other, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obeys him? Chapter 5. And they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he came out of the boat, immediately there he met him out of the tomb, a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. and no one was able to bind him, not even with chains. Some sort of superhuman demon strength or something. Because verse 4, could not even bind him with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, but the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, and no one was able to tame him. And continually, night and day, he was on the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. And seeing Yeshua from a distance, he ran and bowed down to him. And having called out with a loud voice, he said, "What have I to do with you, Yeshua, Son of the Most High El? Swear to Elohim not to torture me." And for he had said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." And he was asking him, "What is your name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, because we are many." And he begged him very much that he would not send him out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was there, feeding near the mountains. And all the demons begged him, saying, "Send us into the pigs, so that we enter into them." And he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered into the pigs. They were about 2,000. And the herd rushed down the steep place into the sea, and drowned in the sea. And those who fed the pigs fled, and reported it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what had taken place. So they came to Yeshua and saw the demon-possessed one, him who had the legion, sitting and dressed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. My mom in here? Mom! Hi, Mom. Love you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah. Oh, I know. Lucia's like, "Jerry, your mom's in the chat." Okay, sorry. All right, so that's weird to me, right? They see this guy that was so strong and terribly demon-possessed by 2,000 demons that he was able to break chains and handcuffs and everything else. And they were afraid when they saw him sitting with clothes on in his right mind. Maybe some sort of reverence, perhaps. I don't know. For Yeshua. But they were afraid. Verse 16. And those who saw it related to them what was done to the demon-possessed one and about the pigs. I bet they were unhappy about the pigs. And they began to plead with him to leave their borders. And as he was entering into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. And Yeshua did not allow him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends." And I bet he didn't have very many of those. Sorry. "Go home to your friends and report to them what the master had done for you, and how he had compassion on you." And he left and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Yeshua had done for him, and all marveled. And when Yeshua had passed over again by boat to the other side, a large crowd assembled to him, and he was by the sea. And see, one of the rulers of the congregation came, Yair by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and begged him strongly, saying, "My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come, lay your hands on her to heal her, and she shall live." And he went with him, and a large crowd was following him, and they were thronging him. And a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered much from many physicians, and spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather became worse. Having heard about Yeshua, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, "If only one touches his garment, I shall be made well." The translation for the word garment there is the tzitzit. And so is the little tassels that we wear on the corners of our garments today. Verse 29, and immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And immediately Yeshua, knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garments?" And his taught ones said to him, "You see the crowd is thronging you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he was looking around to see her who did this. And the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done to her, came and fell down before him and spoke to him all the truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your belief has healed you. Go in peace and be relieved from your affliction." As he was speaking, they came from the rulers of the congregation's house, saying to him, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But having heard the word that was spoken, Yeshua said to the ruler of the congregation, "Do not be afraid, only believe." And he allowed no one to follow him except Kepha and Jacob, and Yohanan, the brother of Jacob. So they came to the house of the ruler of the congregation and saw a commotion and much weeping and lamenting. And coming in, he said to them, "Why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but is sleeping." And they were laughing at him. And when he had put them all out, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him, and went in where the child was lying. And taking the child by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha Kumi," or Kumai, which is translated, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And immediately the girl rose up and was walking, for she was 12 years old, and they were completely astonished. But he ordered them many times that no one should know it, and said that she should be given food to eat. Chapter 6. And he went away from there and came to his own country, and his taught ones followed him. And Sabbath having come, he began to teach in the congregation, and many who heard him were astonished, saying, "Where did he get all this? And what wisdom is this which he is given?" And what wisdom is this which is given to him? What such miracles are done through his hands? Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of Jacob and Joseph and Yehuda and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us? And they stumbled in him. And Yeshua said to them, "A prophet is not unappreciated except in his own house," or in his own country, and among his own relatives and his own house. And he was unable to do any miracle there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick ones and healed them. And he marveled because of their unbelief. And he was going around among the villages teaching. And he called the 12 near, and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them authority over unclean spirits. And he instructed them to take none at all for their journey, except a staff, no bag, no bread, no copper in their money belts, but to wear sandals, and not to wear 2 undergarments. And he said to them, "Wherever you enter into a house, stay there until you leave that place. And any place that does not receive you or listen to you, when you leave there, shake off the dust under your feet, as a witness against them. Truly I say to you, it shall be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for that city." And they went out and proclaimed that all men should repent. And they were casting out many demons, and they were anointing with oil many who were sick, and they were healing them. And sovereign Herodes heard, and his name had become well known. And he said, "Yohanan the Immerser has been raised from the dead, and because of this, these powers are at work in him." Others said, "He is Elihu," and others said, "He is a prophet, like one of the prophets." But when Herodes heard, he said, "This is Yohanan, whom I beheaded. he has been raised from the dead. And Herodias himself had sent and seized Johanan and bound him in prison because of Herodias, his brother Philippi's wife, because he had married her. For Johanan had said to Herodias, "It is not right for you to have your brother's wife." So Herodias held a grudge against him and wished to kill him, but was unable. For Herodias feared Johanan, knowing that he was a righteous and set-apart man, and he protected him. And when he heard him, he was much perplexed, yet heard him gladly. And a suitable day came when Herodias on his birthday gave a feast for the great men, and the high officers and the chief men of Galilee. And when the daughter of Herodias herself came in and danced and pleased Herodias and those who sat with him, and the sovereign said to the girl, "Ask me whatever you wish, and I shall give it to you." And he swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I shall give it to you, up to half my kingdom, half my reign." And she went out and said to her mother, "What shall I ask?" And she said, "The head of John the Baptizer." And coming in immediately with haste to the sovereign, she asked, saying, "I wish that you give me at once the head of Johanan the Immerser on a dish." And the sovereign, becoming deeply grieved because of the oaths, and because of those who sat with him, did not wish to refuse her. And the sovereign straightway sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison, and brought his head on a dish, and gave it to the girl. And the girl gave it to her mother. And when his taught ones heard of it, they came and took away his dead body, and laid it in a tomb. And the emissaries gathered to Yeshua, and reported to him all, both what they had done, and what they had taught. And he said to them, "Come aside by yourselves to a lonely place, and rest a little." For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. And they went away to a lonely place in the boat by themselves. But they saw them going, and many recognized him, and ran there on foot from all the cities, and came before them, and came together to him. And having gone out, Yeshua saw a large crowd, and was moved with compassion for them, because they were all like sheep, not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many matters. And as the hour grew late, his taught ones came to him and said, "This is a lonely place, and now the hour is late. Send them away, so they go into the surrounding country and villages, and buy themselves bread, since they have no food to eat." But he answering said to them, "You give them to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread, and give it them to eat?" Then he said to them, "How much loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they found out, they had 5 and 2 fishes. And he ordered them to make them all sit down in groups on the green grass. And they sat down in groups, in hundreds and in 50s. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, looking upon the heaven, he blessed and broke the loaves, and gave them to his taught ones to set before them. And the 2 fishes he divided among them all, and all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up 12 baskets filled with pieces also from the fishes. Now those who ate the loaves were about 5,000 men. And immediately he made his taught ones enter into the boat, and to go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he was dismissing the crowd. And having sent them away, he went away into the mountain to pray. And when evening came, the boat was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. And seeing them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them, At about the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea, and he wished to pass them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a phantom, and cried out. For they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he spoke to them and said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." And he went up to them into the boat, and the wind ceased. And they were exceedingly amazed in themselves and marveled. For they did not understand about the loaves. They did not understand about the loaves, because their heart was hardened. And having passed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret, and drew to shore. And when they had come out of the boat, he was immediately recognized. And all the neighborhood ran about, and began to carry about on beds those who were sick, to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages or cities or the country, they were laying the sick on the market, in the marketplaces, and begged him to let them touch, if only the tzitzit of his garment. And as many as touched him were healed. Chapter 7. And the Pharisees and some of the scribes assembled to him, having come from Jerusalem, and seeing some of his taught ones eat bread with defiled, that is, with unwashed hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Yahudim do not eat unless they wash their hands thoroughly, holding fast the traditions of the elders. And coming from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash. And there were many other traditions which they have received and hold fast: the washing of cups and utensils and copper vessels and couches. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your taught ones not walk according to the traditions of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands?" And he answering, said to them, "Well did Yeshayahu prophesy concerning you hypocrites, as it has been written, this people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And in vain do they worship me, teachings the commandments of men. Forsaking the commandment of Elohim, you hold fast to the tradition of men." And he said to them, "Well do you set aside the command?" And he said to them, "Well do you set aside the commandment of Elohim in order to guard your tradition? For Moshe said, 'Respect your father and your mother,' and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, if a man says to his father or mother, 'Whatever profit you might have received from me is korban,' that is a gift. You no longer let him do any matter at all for his father or his mother, nullifying the word of Elohim through your tradition, which you have handed down, and many such traditions you do." And calling the crowd to him, he said to them, "Hear me, everyone, and understand. There is no matter that enters a man from outside which is able to defile him, but it is that which comes out of him that defiles a man. If anyone has an ear to hear, let him hear." And when he went from the crowd into a house, his taught ones asked him concerning the parable. And he said to them, Are you also without understanding? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside is unable to defile him? Because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purging all the foods? And he said, what comes out of a man that defiles a man? For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil reasonings, adulteries, whorings, murders, thefts, greedy desires, wickedness, deceit, indecency, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these wicked matters come from within and defile a man. And rising up from there, he went to the border of Sor and Sidon, and entered entering into a house, he wished no one to know it, but it was impossible to be hidden. For a woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him, and she came and fell at his feet. Now the woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And Yeshua said to her, "Let the children be satisfied first, for it is not good to take. Let the children be satisfied first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." But she answering said to him, "Yes, master, for even the little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs." And he said to her, because of this word, go, the demon has gone out of your daughter." And having come into the house, she found the demon gone out, and her daughter lying on the bed. And again, going out from the borders of Sor and Sidon, he came to the Sea of Galilee, through the midst of the borders of Decapolis. And they brought to him one who was deaf and spoke with difficulty, and they begged him to lay his hands upon him. And taking him away from the crowd, he put his fingers in the ears, and having spit, he touched his tongue. And looking up to the heaven, he sighed and said to him, "Ephphatha," that is, "be opened." And immediately his ears were opened, and the binding of his tongue was loosed, and he was speaking plainly. And he ordered them that they should say it to no one. But the more he ordered them, the more they published it. And they were immeasurably astonished, saying, "He has done all well. He makes even the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak." Chapter 8. In those days, the crowd being very great, and not having any to eat, Yeshua called his taught ones near and said to them, "I have compassion on the crowd, for they have now been with me 3 days and do not have food to eat. And if I dismiss them unfed to their home, they shall faint on the way, for some of them have come from far." And his taught ones answered him, "How shall anyone be able to feed these people with bread here in the desert?" And he asked them, "How many loaves do you have?" And he said to them, 7. And he commanded the crowd to sit down on the ground. And taking the 7 loaves, giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his taught ones to set before them. And they set them before the crowd, and they had a few small fishes. And having blessed, they said to set them also before them. And they ate and were satisfied, and they picked up 7 large baskets of broken pieces. And those eating were about 4,000, and he dismissed them. And immediately entering into the boat with his taught ones, he came to the part of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven, trying him. And sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, "Why does this generation seek a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation." And leaving them, again entering into the boat, he went away to the other side. And they had forgotten to take bread, and they did not have more than 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he was warning them, saying, "Mind, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herodes." And they were reasoning with one another, saying, because we have no bread. And Yeshua, being aware of it, said to them, "Why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive, nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes to see, do you not see? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? Do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, How many baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? They said to him, 12. And when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? And they said, 7. And he said to them, how do you not understand? And he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, he led him out of the village, and having spit on his eyes, laying hands on him, he asked him, do you see at all? And he looked up and said, I see men, like trees walking. Then he placed his hand on his eyes again and made him look up, and he was restored, and saw all clearly. And he sent him away to his home, saying, do not go into the village. And Yeshua and his taught ones went out to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and on the way he asked his taught ones, saying to them, who do men say that I am? And they said to him, Yohanan the Immerser, and others, Elihu, but others, one of the prophets. And he asked them, and you, who do you say I am? And Kepha, answering, said to him, you are the Messiah. And he warned them that they should speak to no one about him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Adam has to suffer much and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and after 3 days to rise again. And he was speaking about this openly. Then Kepha, Peter, taking him aside, began to rebuke him. And turning around and seeing his taught ones, he rebuked Kepha, saying, get behind me, Satan, for your thoughts are not those of Elohim, but those of men. So Yeshua is telling his disciples right here, here's prophecy, here's what has to take place in order for all things to be fulfilled according to Scripture. And Peter was like, no. And, the only one that would reject the plan that Yah has in prophecy would not be of Yah. Anyways, going forth. Chapter 30, or verse 34, rather. And calling near the crowd with his taught ones, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his stake, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he gains all the world and loses his own life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinning generation, of him and the Son of Adam also shall be ashamed when he comes in the esteem of his Father with the set apart messengers. Chapter 9. And he said to them, truly I say to you, that there are some standing here who shall not taste of death until they see the reign of Elohim having come in power. And after 6 days, Yeshua took Kepha and Jacob and Yohanan and led them up on a high mountain alone by themselves. And he was transformed before them, and his garments became glittering, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth is able to whiten. And there appeared to them Elihu with Moshe, and they were talking with Yeshua. And Kepha responding said to Yeshua, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. And let us make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Elihu, because he did not know what to say, for they were exceedingly afraid. And there came a cloud overshadowing them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, the beloved, hear him. And suddenly, looking around, they no longer saw anyone with them, but only Yeshua. And as they were coming down from the mountain, he ordered them not to relate to anyone what they saw, till the Son of Adam had risen from the dead. And they kept this matter to themselves, debating what the rising from the dead meant. They didn't know their Old Testament prophecies. And they asked him, saying, Why do the scribes say to Elihu? Why do the scribes say that Elihu has to come first? And he said to them, Elihu indeed, having come first, restores all matters. And how has it been written concerning the son of Adam, that he who suffers much and be despised? But I say to you that even Elihu has come, and they did to him whatever they wished, and it was given, and it has been written of him. And coming to the taught ones, he saw a large crowd around them, and scribes disputing with them. And immediately, when all the crowd saw him, they were greatly astonished, and running near, greeted him. And he asked the scribes, What are you disputing with them? And one of the crowd answering said, Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a dumb spirit, and wherever he seizes him, he throws him down, and he foams at the mouth, and gnashes his teeth, and he wastes away. And I spoke to your taught ones that they should cast him out, but they were not able. And he answered him and said, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring him to me. So they brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit threw him into convulsions, and falling on the ground, he rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And he asked his father, How long has he been like this? And he said, From childhood. And often he has thrown him both into the fire and into water to destroy him. But if it is at all possible for you, have compassion on us and help us. And Yeshua said to him, If you are able to believe, all is possible to him who believes. And immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, I believe, Master, help my unbelief. And when Yeshua saw that the crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, You deaf and dumb spirit, I order you, come out of him, and never again enter into him. And crying out and convulsing him much, it came out of him, and he became as one dead, so that many said that he was dead. But Yeshua, taking him by the hand, lifted him up, and he arose. And when he came into the house, his taught ones asked him separately, Why were we unable to cast him out? And he said to them, It is impossible for this kind to come out, except through prayer and fasting. And going from there, they passed through Galilee, and he did not wish anyone to know. Man, he needs a break, right? He's trying to get a break. For he was teaching his taught ones, and said to them, The Son of Adam is being delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him. And having been killed, he shall rise the third day. But they did not understand the word, and they were afraid to ask him. And they came to Capharnaum, and being in the house, he asked them, What was it you disputed among yourselves on the way? And they were silent, for on the way they had disputed with one another who was the greatest. And sitting down, he called the 12 and said to them, If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all. And he took a little child and set him on it in their midst, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, Whoever receives one of such little children in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me. And Yohanan said to him, Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow us. And Yeshua said, Do not forbid him, for no one who works a miracle in my name is able to readily speak evil of me. For he who is not against us is for us. For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you are of in my name, because you are of Messiah, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. And whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, catch this, right? Whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble who believes in me, it is better for him to have a millstone hung around his neck, and that he were thrown into the sea. And if your hand makes you stumble, cut it off, for it is better for you to enter life crippled than having two hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your foot makes you stumble, cut it off, for it is better if you enter into life crippled than having 2 feet to be thrown into Gehenna, into unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your eye makes you to stumble, pluck it out, for it is better for you to enter into the reign of Elohim with one eye than having 2 eyes to be thrown into the fire of Gehenna, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace among one another. Amen. Okay, that's going to conclude our reading for today. Oh, thanks for hanging in here with me, you guys. This is good stuff, right? I mean, most of us, if not all of us, have heard the Gospels, but you know, if you're like me, you see something a little differently each time you read them. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for being here. Bless you all. I love you. I can't wait to do this again tomorrow. We're going to finish up the book of Mark. And yeah, I don't know. Hey, I want to get you guys' opinion real quick before you go. Is 8:30 too late for the Bible readings, 8:30 p.m.? What do you think? And do you have a preference? I would like to know what works best for you guys. Because I don't know about you, but it's now 9:30 here, and I'm tired. I'm trying to find a good medium here. The late ones, I like the late ones. I like it like between, I don't know, like 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Central Time works for me. Yeah. All right, cool. Then we'll kind of stick with this. I like this too. Levi's usually pretty mellowed out by now. Oh, sorry. I'm trying not to say his name on camera. I'll have to edit that now. My son, I wonder why the pigs didn't want to go out of the country. The pigs? I mean, I don't know if the pigs had a choice in the matter. They kind of just ended up being compelled to throw themselves into the sea, I think. I know, I usually drink coffee and I'm not so tired. Yeah, let's get it going into 4 a.m. Isaiah, man. I usually drink coffee at night. I'm in Mountain. This works. Okay, Philip. Bless you, brother. All right. Good time. Good time. Bauman 82. Shalom, dudes and dudettes. Mary will follow your lead. Oh, bless you, Mary. All right. So tomorrow we're gonna hit it about 8 o'clock, just a little bit earlier. 8 o'clock sounds good for me. All right. Love you guys. Signing off. Shalom.